Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 news. One of the craziest days in recent F1 memory today, with all of the 10 Formula 1 teams coming out in unanimous support of Toto and Susie Wolff in their battle against the FIA's compliance investigations that are presently going on. Not every day you see the teams united on anything, especially to quite this extent, when the rumour was a couple of days ago that multiple team principals had requested to the FIA to investigate Toto over this. Now all of the teams are saying that's not true at all. Raises the questions, where have the FIA come up with this idea to actually investigate Toto and Susie Wolff? Have they just done this for political reasons themselves? And is this a massive political battle from the teams and from Formula 1 to try and oust Mohammed Ben Sulayem at the head of the FIA, or try and split away entirely? This, I think, is massive for the future of Formula 1 over the next couple of months. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. So, not often I do 2 videos in a day, but it had to be done today because there's a lot happening. Just to give you guys the quick whistle-stop tour. A couple of days ago, Business F1 magazine comes out with a bombshell report, not verified by any other sources, it was only them reporting this, that apparently there was a meeting that had taken place where Toto Wolff had overstepped the mark and revealed something that was confidential information that he shouldn't otherwise have known. The theory was, apparently from other team principals, as was mentioned in the article, that he'd gotten this information from his wife Susie, who works at the Formula 1 management group with directing the Formula 1 Academy over there. So, potential conflict of interest. The theory was, according to the article, team principals were concerned and had requested to Mohammed Ben Sulayem, president of the FIA, to look into this. So that's kind of where it began, and then we saw, of course, it took another step when the FIA themselves said, aware of this media speculation, we are now investigating, the compliance department is looking into the matter of potential confidential information being shared one way or the other. We then, of course, saw Mercedes and Susie Wolff vehemently deny these accusations. Obviously, Mercedes coming out with their statement initially that we saw, and then Susie Wolff went arguably even one step further with, really firing an attack back the other way, as she says, rooted in intimidatory and misogynistic behaviour from the Formula 1 management side, and really firing back the other way with what she then accused the FIA of doing in this whole behaviour. So, there was lots of speculation on why they've gone this hard on the FIA and why they haven't just, laid low as they could have done, given the fact that the FIA statement didn't even mention Toto and Susie Wolff. Now, it was very much inferred who they were because of the media speculation going around, but this didn't necessarily mandate a response from the teams, from Mercedes or from Formula 1. And Formula 1 themselves also followed up to say that, we think these accusations are totally wrong and there's nothing behind them. So this seems to me like a very clear opportunity for the teams and for Formula 1 management to really launch a staunch attack on the FIA. There's been increasing conflict between Mohammed Ben Sulayem, the president, and the FIA in general, and the running of Formula 1 over the last several months for multiple reasons. And to me, this seems like the teams have sensed an opportunity here to come out swinging. And that's what they've done. It's not often you see Christian Horner defend Toto Wolff, but it's happened here, and Christian Horner said in an interview with Sky Sports today that they did not raise any complaint, even though it was very heavily implied in that article. That may have been complete BS, and we'll dive into definitely the teams say that it is here in a second, that Christian, or at least a team principal who had previously been at odds with Toto, had made this request to the FIA to look into this potential issue of, well, the husband and wife sharing information they shouldn't be sharing. So Christian Horner was the first one to say anything, and then shortly afterwards, we got one of the wildest 10 minutes on Twitter that I've really ever known in the Formula 1 world, with basically every single Formula 1 team doing a statement at the same time. It's so rare you see anything to this effect. When the teams are aligned on something, they've talked behind the scenes, and they even aligned it in terms of when they were releasing the statement, without anyone really seemingly knowing it was coming. So Williams say, and this is the same statement that everybody says, we can confirm that we have not made any complaints to the FIA regarding the allegation of information of a confidential nature being passed between an F1 team principal and a member of FOM staff, which is basically the same words that the FIA initially used. So Williams is saying that they did not make this complaint, because that was the initial implication, that a complaint had been made by some other team principals to the FIA, and that's why they were investigating it. And if that's true, then fair enough, they're doing their job, investigating a claim that was raised to them. maybe that's justifiable. So Williams go on to say, we are pleased and proud to support F1 Academy and its managing director through our commitment to sponsor an entrant in our liveries from next season, which is also another key point of this. Next season's F1 Academy, that's basically the new version of the female driver season within Formula One group itself. All of the teams next year are supporting a venture in that with their own liveries. Okay, they're not exactly fielding a team, but, they're going to have a driver at least for their team. They're going to have their liveries on the cars. So they've got a horse in the race, as it were, all of these teams. But Williams say, no, wasn't us. Definitely nothing to do with us why this is going on. And then we got the same thing from everybody else. Haas do the same thing with, it's literally the same statements. I don't even think there was any difference at all. So I don't know if they just got ChatGPT to write them up or exactly who came up with this and shared them around the teams. What a venture to pull this off, right? For all the teams to come up with this statement, for somebody to come up with it, for it to get out to the teams, for the teams to agree to do this at the same time and push it through their social media channels. This stinks really of a targeted attack, a targeted operation against the FIA. And maybe for good reason. Scuderia Ferrari, here you go. It's the same thing. I don't need to share it with you again and again and again. You guys get the picture. This is the Ferrari one. Even Red Bull, of course, the team that could possibly be most at odds with Mercedes, come out with the same thing at exactly the same time. McLaren, as they like to do, did theirs on their website instead. So I was refreshing. I saw the Williams one. I saw the Haas one. I saw the Red Bull one. Saw the Ferrari one or whatever. And I was like, okay, McLaren going to go now? Hit refresh. I saw 6 seconds ago, McLaren Racing had tweeted it out. And, we see here on their website, here you go. It's the same statement that we have seen before and we'll see again. Alfa Romeo were the last ones. They took a bit longer for whatever reason. It took them maybe, 20, 30 minutes to get that sorted. But eventually they agreed to do it, I suppose, or their social media team got the message. And bang, it hits the timeline as well. So the only team that didn't tweet this out, of course, was Mercedes, right? Because, Mercedes they already responded, basically. And obviously, you would think at least that Toto Wolff or Mercedes themselves aren't going to, unless there's internal self-sabotage at Mercedes trying to get rid of Toto Wolff, I somehow doubt that Mercedes were the ones that raised the complaint against Toto Wolff. So this is the overall look that Denny here puts together of all of the statements. We can see the Aston Martin one here, but, the AlphaTauri one. But, obviously I don't need to share them all with you, the Alpine one, because we've already seen them and it's the same thing. So have you ever seen anything quite like this? There was even jokes, of course, going around, F1 Twitter themselves put out the same kind of statement. So just pretty funny stuff. But of course, what's the implication of this? This now puts the ball back in the court of the FIA to say, all right, well, who came up with this idea? Who made the decision to investigate this and why did they do so? The teams are saying that it was nothing to do with them. Now, it's interesting because, do we believe that? At the end of the day, teams say things. Does that necessarily mean that they're right on this one? I know that a lot of people interpreted the very quick and vehement backlash from Mercedes and from Susie Wolff and from a lot of other people involved as, maybe there is something to this, but instead of laying low and waiting for an investigation to happen and them to be proved innocent, they decided, we're going to go on the offensive and we're going to take it back the other way. So whether what the teams are saying here is true, that none of their team principals made any comment to this effect, that's what the article initially said. That might have been completely made up. But I will say that AMUS, very reputable source, they actually reported earlier in the day that what was said in the article was true, that they talked to someone in the room and they'd agreed that, yeah, this kind of exchange happened where Toto Wolff mentioned figures from a supposed audit from the cost cap that he shouldn't have known those figures. Now, you've also got to wonder, why would Susie Wolff know those figures as the F1 Academy director? Probably not either. So you've got to wonder, where that came from, if it did come from that, or even it's even true in the first place. But then AMUS came out afterwards. Toby Gruner said, actually, right here, that, apologies, we got that one wrong. So they basically backtracked and said, you made a mistake in our story earlier today, that it might be linked to the FI investigation. So pretty rare that AMUS say something that, then they will then retract it and say, actually, no, that didn't happen, apparently. So this is pretty wild, I'm not going to lie. There's a lot going on. And as Toby Gruner also goes goes on to say, I asked a team principal today about the rumoured allegations. He told me there was nothing Toto Wolff said in recent meetings that raised any concerns or was questionable in any way for him or the other team bosses. Nobody has complained about anything, which, as I say, it contradicts the initial report, which could well have been complete baloney, but it also contradicts what AMUS said earlier in the day. We heard about a small debate between Wolff and Horner in the last F1 Commission meeting, but that had nothing to do with compliance issues. We made a mistake. Apologies for that. So, quite something to say. But whatever the truth of the matter is, the teams are in complete agreement, publicly so. They never made any request to the FIA to investigate Toto Wolff. Obviously, Susie has put her own accusations back the other way, and as Joe Soward here says, I think that a bull in a china shop has just met a matador, as in, Mohammed Ben Sulayem has been messing things up for quite some time, and now it's payback time. And I think that he's right on the money here in terms of this is clearly a message for somebody, and I think that somebody is more likely than not to be this man, the current president of the FIA, Mohammed Ben Sulayem. Now, this guy has been in a lot of controversy for a long period of time, but there's been many incidents over the last several months alone where he has butted heads with Formula 1 management and with the teams themselves over many things, not limited to the potential entrance of a new team, right? He has been very much in support of Andretti getting on the grid, as I think are many fans. And you've got to say that I think one of the big losers of today is Andretti, because the FIA being a bit of a clown show, as they have been for some time, the teams having exposed that maybe in quite some regard now makes the FIA look really bad, and therefore the teams are able to capitalize on this drama to to push their own potential narrative on this one. What is the goal of the teams in this? Because clearly there was some communication here. All the TPs are aligned, all the teams are aligned to such a remarkable extent that there's clearly an intention in their messaging behind this. My theory is they want this guy gone. They either want Mohammed Ben Sulayem gone, or their real intention is to maybe even break away from the FIA in general. We've heard this happen plenty of times before in Formula 1, where various different ownership groups and governing bodies would all have conflict and drama, and they threaten to break away, and a different governing body comes in. It's all going on. I think, though, they just want this guy gone. I think they prefer the days when the president of the FIA didn't get as involved as he presently does. And there's lots of reasons why. I mean, even earlier this year, back in January, you guys maybe heard the rumors that F1 was getting offered $20 billion by the Saudis to buy F1. And of course, a lot of people don't want that to happen. But Ben Sulayem said, well, that's an inflated figure. That's an exaggerated figure. And the FIA and then Formula 1 were like, hang on a second, Mr. Ben Sulayem of the FIA, the governing body that we work with and we pay you money to govern our sport. You're going to tell us what our sport is worth to such an extent that you're actually going to hurt the value of our sport in the public eye? Because, if they think it's worth 20 billion and you start to say that's inflated, that's hurting the value of our business. They weren't happy about that, and totally understand why. And then in recent times, it's been the Andretti piece, right? Because Ben Sulayem has been very much so in favour of getting the 11th team on the grid, as I think are many fans, to be fair. But Ben Sulayem has been massively in support of this. He's pushed it all the way. Kind of rarely so. Usually you'd see an FIA president kind of be more neutral, but he's been fully on board with it. The teams don't want that to happen. They don't want the revenue to be shared, all this stuff. So my thinking is on this that they are trying to make a push here and going back to the FIA and basically just trying to make the FIA make changes, because the way that they've gone about this, all the teams, Susie Wolff, Toto Wolff, a lot of the drivers, Hamilton, Leclerc even, I think he initially liked Susie Wolff's post as well, so kind of showing support. All of the teams, all of the team principals, the entirety of the Formula 1 group are all aligned on this, basically saying the FIA is a complete clown show, and you're only doing this for reasons that don't even make any sense, or you're doing this for weird, personal vendettas or political reasons internally at the FIA to investigate Toto and Susie Wolff. Susie then says it's because she's a woman, and, all this stuff happens. So it's putting massive pressure on the FIA to come up with a reason as to why they've done this investigation if what the teams are saying is true. And also, I guess, in certain respects to say, well, why are you investigating this but not potential other instance of, competitive integrity or compliance violations that could well be a conflict of interest that may have taken place over quite some time. So, what does this mean for the FIA and Ben Sulayem? I would be very surprised if this saga doesn't end with some people losing their jobs. I think things are going to have to change. Whether that's Ben Sulayem gone, whether whether that's somebody else in, whether it's heads rolling at the FIA, whether that's pressure from a potential Formula One split away from the FIA, I don't know. But what we've seen today is a very rare occurrence, and I'm not sure that this man, who I believe is in his position for another 2 years, I think there's a 4-year tenure, he's been there 2 years, and then there's 2 more years to come. I'd be surprised at this rate if he lasts there all that much longer. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.